Hi, I'm Lubna and I'm presenting the paper We Even Borrowed Money from Our Neighbor Understanding Mobile Based Fraud Through Victims' Experiences. My co authors in this paper are Tallal Ahmad, Samia Ibtasam, Umer Ramzan, and Shrirang Mare. GSMA predicts that world's mobile subscribers will increase to 5.8 billion in 2025. Most of these new subscribers will be in emerging economies such as China, India, Pakistan, and Nigeria. Leveraging this growing mobile phone infrastructure, governments and organizations throughout the developing world are seeking to provide affordable services over mobile phones such as digital financial services or DFS. DFS are designed to deliver financial services at lower costs over the digital medium to overcome the limitations posed by the high costs of physical networks. Around 78% of Pakistanis have their own mobile phones or have access to one, and 23% are financially included. As the adoption of mobile phones and DFS increases, the issues of fraud follow alongside. Fraud both contributes to the loss of users' money and undermines trust in these systems as a whole. In this study, we posed the following research question. What are the types of frauds that people encounter and what are their mental models of fraud? What are the different fraud schemes used by fraudsters to scam mobile phone users? What roles do friends, family, and mobile money agents play in these frauds? What are the repercussions of fraud? What are the participants' attitudes and perceptions toward reporting fraud? And finally, how can we design better systems or social interventions to help mitigate mobile fraud? We identified the following actors in the fraud process. Fraud victims are the mobile users who have lost money to scam initiated and carried out over a phone call or message, while non-victims are the users who have engaged with the fraudster but did not lose money. Fraudsters are the adversaries that perpetuate the social engineering frauds. Family and friends limit or encourage the victim's scam compliance. Victims of bank-related frauds typically interface with the bank through the bank branch or their central helpline. And mobile money agents and top-up corner shops provide mobile financial services like over-the-counter remittance transactions and mobile top-up cards. In this study, we talked to 78 mobile phone users who had engaged with fraudulent calls or messages. 71 of these users were fraud victims, while 7 were non-victims. We also talked to 15 mobile money agents from urban, peri-urban, and rural areas of Punjab, Pakistan, and conducted 3 informal open-ended interviews with officials from Pakistan Telecommunication Authority, which is the regulatory authority for telecom in Pakistan, and Federal Investigation Agency, which is the investigating agency for cybercrime in Pakistan. Participants reported the following 4 most common types of frauds. The kid of frauds were where victims were congratulated that they have won a prize. Benazir income support frauds were where participants were told that they had received money from the unconditional cash transfer program called BISP. Bank frauds were where fraudsters impersonated bank officials, while damsel in distress frauds were where fraudsters posed as a girl in need of help. Participants think that fraud means stealing money, and fraudsters are prank callers, cyber criminals, or hackers who can easily get into their phone and take money. Participants suspected data leak from Nadra, but they were not clear about the mechanics, or they thought that an employee at the service provider was colluding with the fraudsters, their social contacts had leaked the information, or hackers were using software to steal people's information. A study indicated the following fraud strategies being used by fraudsters. The planning and gathering of resources involve masking phone numbers and obtaining fraudulently verified SIMs. They engage with the victims using designated numbers and leveraging their personal information, portraying themselves to be figures of authority, being persistent, and increasing incentive. They steal the money through over-the-counter transactions, through mobile top-ups, or through bank account transactions. The fraudsters then end the attack by delaying realization and then ceasing communication. The victims realize that they have been defrauded when they try to reach the fraudster but fail, when the fraudster follow up with demands for more money, and when the victims receive notification from their bank about transactions that they haven't conducted. Now we highlight the role played by agents and friends and family during the fraud process. Agents can be predictors of the unusual customer behavior as they recognize the transaction behavior of most of their customers. They can warn the customers if they suspect fraud, but the customers hide the identity of the recipients on fraudsters' instructions. The victims have varied reaction towards agents' warnings, where sometimes they would listen to the agent and stop transacting money, while other times they would not. Friends and family can also be enablers in scam compliance, as they sometimes travel to the mobile money agent's shop in pairs with the victim to conduct transactions, indicating their inability to recognize frauds. Friends and family can also be limiters in scam compliance, where participants who were saved from falling for a scam or replying to a fraudulent communication had mostly referred to a colleague or a shopkeeper or someone with higher literacy than the participant who stopped them from sending money or replying to the message from the fraudster. Findings show that the negative repercussions of frauds are not limited to the direct victims or the duration of the fraud. In victims, we see the repercussions in the form of avoidance and loss of trust in services. Some of the victims report ignoring all doubtful communication as they are unable to differentiate the fraudulent messages from service messages, and others shared how they had almost lost trust in their telecom mobile money operator or bank through which the fraud had occurred and avoiding using the service altogether out of the fear of losing money. Among agents, we see the repercussions in the form of financial losses when the customer refuses to pay the agent and when the agent's shop are sealed out of vengeance misdirected at them, as the fraudsters cannot be caught. Individuals whose biometrics are fraudulently used by the fraudsters to verify SIMs are mistaken to be fraudsters by the victims looking to seek vengeance. This poses potential threat to the CNIC holders. However, the fraud amounts are small and don't warrant traveling to another city by the victims. Now we report some of the trends and attitudes towards non-reporting of frauds. Because of the misconceptions that frauds are reported at police stations, majority of the victims were reluctant to report. 49% of the victims did not report at all, while 22% reported to telecom operators, banks, police stations, or FIA. Victims share various reasons for not reporting frauds, including hassle of police asking for bribes, unsatisfactory outcomes as the money is never recovered. Victims don't own the SIM and think that they cannot report the fraud. They don't have the proof for fraud. They feel responsible for being defrauded, or they're embarrassed of being defrauded. Women reported concerns about tarnishing their own or their family's reputation, mobility constraints, and the fear of criticism or domestic violence upon disclosure to male family members as the reasons for not reporting frauds or even disclosing incidents of fraud to others. From this study, we conclude that the ICT and mobile money infrastructure, which was created to benefit the marginalized population, is being used to exploit them. Fraudulent verification of SIM using the biometrics of those who don't have phones, by the use of OTC to remove trace to fraudsters, and the leakage of personal data from telco call centers and franchises. The political, procedural, and infrastructural unevenness at the seams are being exploited by the scammers to carry out frauds. Clear delineation of roles of law enforcement agencies are required. And warning systems are largely social, but they have drawbacks such as the social circle might not even be aware about the frauds themselves. Sociocultural factors impede information seeking and development of mental models around frauds. Perceived credibility of warning given by social actors like an agent remains limited, and the social diffusion process is slower than the pace of evolution of the threat model. Although the efficacy of warnings by agents relies currently on the social capital between the agent and their customers, technological tools that identify or verify agents' suspicion of fraudulent communication and inform about the typical characteristics of prevalent scams and fraudulent numbers can increase the credibility of agents' warnings where the customer-agent social capital is lacking. Educational campaigns by the game show hosts informing at the end of their TV show or government-backed ad campaigns as the government of Pakistan currently utilizes for health can be used to educate citizens about frauds as well. Reporting channels and mechanisms need to be redesigned to allow women to report without leaving their home or needing assistance of a man and without facing harassment or compromising their privacy.